All right, let's ride. Welcome into Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. Chase Senior here with you. Appreciate all of you for making tonight's show a part of your day. Philadelphia Eagles Now presented by LinkedIn Talent Solutions. And for a lot of you out there, you might be unfamiliar with me as I'm taking over as the full-time host for Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I've been with Chat Sports over the last year and a half. I would not have gotten hired if it wasn't for LinkedIn Talent Solutions. If you head to linkedin.com/NFL Daily, you can post your job for free. Millions of people are applying for jobs on the daily basis, and when I was working at WNEP in Scranton, I needed a switch up in terms of the job and the lifestyle that I wanted. That's how I came across Chat Sports. That's how they hired me, and for me, it's been an absolute game changer, and without LinkedIn Talent Solutions, I wouldn't be the host of Philadelphia Eagles Now. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now. So make sure that you post those jobs and post those jobs for free by heading to linkedin.com/NFL Daily. I'll put that link in the comment section and the description of this video. So the purpose of tonight's show is to really break down what happened between the Miami Dolphins and the Philadelphia Eagles. Final score of 48-10, and there wasn't a lot to be excited about, to really be encouraged by in this final preseason game. Joint practices, that happened one time throughout this week between Miami and Philadelphia, and honestly, with the Eagles not playing any starters in this game, that one practice before the Dolphins got sick was really the go-to talking point about how the Eagles match up with the team that expects to be one of the better teams in the AFC East. And in tonight's game, the Eagles basically sat everybody, and the final score was certainly indicative of that. The Eagles didn't put forward any effort, and frankly, they looked disastrous. And I know Nick Sirianni has a lot of passion about his football team, but the lack of effort and the lack of want to from the players that he saw on this roster tonight, I imagine that he's pretty fired up about it, but there are some big storylines that we want to talk about that transpired throughout this game, and that's why we're talking and breaking down all the latest news and rumors. Before we get to the biggest storylines from this football game, I want to hear from you right now in the comments section. A lot of intriguing roster battles on this Eagles roster. Who do you think won a roster spot tonight during this game against the Dolphins? Again, not a lot to cheer about, but let me know a player who won a roster spot tonight and drop me a name right now in the comment section. So during our watch party, appreciate all of you who tuned in. It was a massive success. Nearly $600 in super chats for our first watch party ever. Appreciate all the real ones out there, but I was kind of taking some notes about what transpired in this football game. And you have to keep in mind that you look at the final score, this was a preseason game. And this is a game in which the Miami Dolphins started Tua Tagovailoa. They started Tyreek Hill. They have a new regime in town. So they're trying to establish a culture down there in Miami. And they're also trying to get the grasp of a new schematic change, going from the previous regime to Mike McDaniel. So they started a lot of their ones, and the Eagles did not. And because of that, the Eagles looked terrible. So no starters for Philly is certainly a talking point in this game, and that's why they look so bad. But there were a couple of storylines that are certainly of note. Obviously, on that opening drive of the game, Tua Tagovailoa to Tyreek Hill for a couple of big plays on the opening drive as they marched right down the field as River Craycraft scored that first touchdown, and the Dolphins had ease operating with their first-team offense, the second-team Eagles defense. But one of the bigger storylines that I want to kind of talk about tonight is Andre Dillard. Trade rumors have run rampant for Andre Dillard all throughout this offseason because left tackle is a position of value and a position of need for a lot of teams across the National Football League. And Andre Dillard, 6'5", 315, rookie year coming out of Washington State, he was bad. And he admitted that he was bad, both mentally and with his play on the field and on the game film. But a night like tonight, when Andre Dillard is trying to increase his trade value and get sent to another organization so that he can actually play instead of being blocked on the depth chart by Jordan Mailata, you would expect Andre Dillard to actually play pretty well. He did not tonight. He got beat multiple times. He caused multiple sacks. Jalen Phillips, the former first-round pick out of Miami, dominated him and blew right by him. So for Andre Dillard, does this performance tonight when the Eagles have tried to display him as a very viable trade target who they can get good value back, didn't really do anything to increase his trade value. In fact, I think he decreased his trade value. Now, I do think that it's really important for Philadelphia to bring Andre Dillard and keep him on this team because tackle depth and offensive line depth is really important for a team that has Super Bowl aspirations and they can compete for the NFC East. But when I watch Andre Dillard, I'm like, yo, you showed last year when you played significantly, when Jordan Mailata lost 2 games because of injury, that you can live up to those expectations of being a former first-round pick. But tonight, I'm like, he was getting just blown by opposing defensive linemen. Not a good showing tonight for Andre Dillard, which, of course, enters the conversation of some of those trade rumors out there. We're going to continue to break down this game and some of the biggest storylines, but first, want to tell you about LinkedIn Talent Solutions, an absolute game changer for me because I got hired here at Chat Sports because of LinkedIn Talent Solutions. As you gear up for the fall, if you're operating a business, you need the right people on your team to help your small business fire on all cylinders, like us here at Chat Sports. I was the 8th employee hired back a year and a half ago. We now have 20 employees because we've continued to grow. That's where LinkedIn Jobs comes into play. They make it easier to find the people that you want to talk to faster and for free. You can create a job post in minutes on LinkedIn to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then you can add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring so your network can continue to grow. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right candidates, the quality candidates that you want to talk to faster and better than any other hiring network or website. Did you know that every single week, nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/NFL Daily. That's linkedin.com/NFL Daily to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. We'll put that link in the comment section and the description of this video. And it's been awesome to grow here at Chat Sports, taking over as the full-time host of Philadelphia Eagles now. Been a blast to be able to interact with all of you all throughout this week as my first week as a host of Philadelphia Eagles now. Thousands of views during our first watch party and a lot of money in Super Chats. Really do appreciate all of the support that has come in. Other news and notes that we have to talk about. Kenneth Gainwell. He was stopped on that 4th down on the opening drive of the game, and a lot of people voiced some concerns about the lack of a short yardage back. Analytically, Kenneth Gainwell and Boston Scott have actually done a pretty good job in picking up some of those short yardage situations when the time is called for it. But what's interesting and what's a worthy talking point is that the Eagles on this roster do not have a bulky, physical running back who is advantageous to have on the 53-man if you run into a scenario in which you're at a 3rd and short, you're at a 4th and short, and you have to go for it. Kenneth Gainwell didn't pick it up. And while those players, Gainwell, Scott, have done well, you know who's always succeeded? Even though Gainwell and Scott have sometimes failed in those situations, it's Jordan Howard. He's had one of the most fascinating careers among anybody at that running back position in the NFL. Starts his career with the Chicago Bears. He was putting up more numbers than Ezekiel Elliott. No joke. Then he gets cut free by the Chicago Bears and can't find a home in the NFL. He comes to Philadelphia on a couple of occasions after they signed him. And every time he's been on this roster, he's done a really, really good job of those short yardage situations of just bringing physicality to that position, falling short, and picking up those necessary yards. When he goes to a different team, he doesn't necessarily play all that well. But Jordan Howard is a good situational back. And here's the deal that people were bringing up during our watch party. Should the Eagles sign Jordan Howard and bring him back because of the lack of short yardage back on this Eagles roster? You have Miles Sanders, you have Boston Scott, you have Kenneth Gainwell. Oftentimes, the Eagles have had 4 running backs on this roster. I don't think anybody else has earned a roster spot. Kennedy Brooks, he hasn't been good. Kenneth Gainwell is solid. Jason Huntley did play well tonight, and he offers you that pass-catching back out of the backfield. But I think, honestly, it is worth exploring the idea of bringing back Jordan Howard. This organization and this new regime with Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman know what he can bring to the table. He did it last year. He's really good in those critical situations. Why not bring him back for a very affordable price? So that certainly something of note. More things to get to on the show. Want to talk about Patrick Johnson here. I thought that Patrick Johnson, he's fighting for a roster spot. He played well. He had 1 sack against the Miami Dolphins tonight, and that sack is critical for him. He's lined up at that left edge. He rushed the passer. It wasn't against Tua Tagovailoa, I don't believe, but this is a guy who is fighting for his livelihood in the National Football League, and we know that the Eagles have not prioritized linebacker in years past. They finally did this year. Kaiser White, although he's affordable, Nakobe Dean, as he dropped to Philadelphia. Patrick Johnson has shown throughout training camp and the preseason that he can crack this roster, and I thought he played well tonight against the Dolphins. Before we continue on with our postgame show, how many games do you think that the Eagles will win this year? Don't be discouraged by how they perform against Miami tonight. Look at this roster, how it's been constructed, and the confidence that you have in this new regime. Let me know right now in the comments section. To Kyron Johnson right now, 6th-round pick out of Kansas. Again, at the linebacker spot, I thought he looked good against Miami. He was moving well sideline to sideline, early diagnosing skills, and what he's done in terms of having the football acumen and football IQ is what we haven't seen from Davion Taylor. And this is really the difference between Kyron Johnson and Davion Taylor. Davion Taylor might be that freak athlete. He might have that crazy 40-yard dash speed that we heard about when the Eagles selected him in the 3rd round out of Colorado. But has it translated to the game field? And has he been able to flash throughout this entire offseason? I don't think so. When was the last time this guy flashed? At moments throughout his career so far to start. In the first 2 years, he's shown some propensity of being a good player. But then you're like, Davion Taylor, you're missing tackles. There was that touchdown thrown on him where he had a good beat on the football, and he couldn't cause the PBU. Kyron Johnson, as compared to Davion Taylor, who's a better football player? I think as of now, it's been Kyron Johnson as compared to Davion Taylor. I'm not sure if Davion Taylor is going to make this football team. I thought it was interesting that he was playing late into this game against Miami. I think his roster spot, the coaches are going to go back, look at the film. They're going to determine whether or not he's worthy of keeping on this team. Lastly, I want to talk about Jason Huntley. He had that 67-yard score, and he brings something to the table that I think is really intriguing. The running threat and the pass-catching threat out of the backfield. With that 67-yard touchdown, I understand that it was going up against backups, but even earlier in the game, when the Dolphins were trotting out some of their best players, I thought in the pass game, he looked pretty good. He had one drop when Gardner Minshew got pressured really early, but that explosiveness and that versatility is something that certainly intrigues me. Tiptoeing the sideline, then taking it to the crib. Again, this comes down to a situation where you know what your first 3 running backs are going to be and who they're going to be. It's going to be Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott. After that, though, who is going to be the 4th running back? Some teams like to keep 5. If it's 4, Jason Huntley might make it as an internal option. As an external option, that's where Jordan Howard comes into play. Again, for those of you who showed out for our watch party, I greatly appreciate it. Nearly $600 in Super Chats. It was a raging success. So I appreciate that. I also appreciate those of you who watch our entire postgame show here. And if you made it this far, I want you to let it be known in the comment section right now and be ridiculous about it, right? Type real one as many times as you want in the comment section if you made it this far, because that means that you're a loyal subscriber and supporter of what we do. And if you haven't subscribed, do so right now for daily and the best interactive news, rumors, and Eagles analysis coming your way by yours truly right here on Eagles Now.